Alright, here I am again. Hello yogis. So before we do our full primary series tomorrow, I wanted to just draw your attention to your hips. So as you come through your seated sequence, the emphasis is, in most of us, to get as far forward as we can and stretch our spine in this direction and get as flat and as far forward as we can. But actually, the peak postures of the primary series ask you to not move your hips this way, but actually to roll them back the other way. So you sit in the back of your hips. So what I've been doing in my primary series, because I have restricted mobility here, my back doesn't like to round, it just kind of doesn't, is when you do your Janushirsasanas, for example, instead of just going into anterior tilt, which is the tilt where you feel like you're sticking your butt out and pointing your spine this way, and focusing on the forward fold aspect, remember that we've done our forward folding in maybe 1, 2, or 3 Paschimottanasana. So I would recommend here to work on the hip and the relation of the leg plugging into the hip and then the hip into the lower spine instead. So see if you can, Adam Keen's been plugging this. This is one of the techniques he works, if you follow him, is to bring more space to the spine, not by pulling it out, but actually by pressing back into the hips and staying in your hips and your pelvic basin as you work into your folds. So basically, as you're stretching, we all know we need to have something to stretch from. So if you're just pulling your whole body, you lost the root, the base of the posture, right? So it's quite interesting. Even Janushirasana means head to knee. So you could try it here and see how it feels. Another one is Maritasana A. Everyone's obsessed with folding forwards. But actually, again, we're in anterior tilt of the pelvis. So as you bring your leg into Maritasana A, I recommend sitting back again into the posterior tilt. So you're spreading out your lower back, spine and hips. And then instead of going down straight, try and stay back in your hips. And make space there so that when you come to the peak postures, let's say Bhujapidasana, Tittibasana, Bakasana, Kurmasanas, if you're not familiar with these poses, we'll try them out tomorrow. But they all, well, Bakasana is one we all know, so you can see I'm having to round my whole spine from head to tail, really, to come in here. Okay, so Bhujapidasana works on the same principle. It's a rounding. So if we get to this pose and we're stuck, as I was for a while, it might be just because you haven't actually focused on creating space in the area where you need it for these poses. So when you come to the Kurmasanas and you're asked to be on the floor in posterior tilt, okay, you're going to struggle if you're only used to making straight lines and anterior tilt. So what else can I say? Yeah, so tomorrow we'll be doing poses where we're asked to sit and actually balance and hold the weight of the body in the back of the hips. Okay, so you need to feel this posterior tilt. So just to reiterate, as you come to sit, you want to know where your neutral pelvis is. So think of the pelvic bones as a bowl. If you tip the bowl forward, you're on anterior tilt. If you slump and rock it back, this is the posterior tilt, and somewhere in the middle is your neutral. So the first time I hit this posterior tilt, yeah, it could be focusing on the early seated postures, or it could be your Navasana. Where are you sitting in your Navasana? Is it sit bones, front, back of them? Is it sacrum? Where are we seated here? Because we're going to have to rock further back when we come to these later postures. Okay, I hope that made sense in some way. Sorry I'm fully clothed today, you couldn't see my whole body very well there. It's about 4 degrees in London today. And come tomorrow, even if you can't make the 2 hours, just come for an hour or come and do what you can. And then feel free to